Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Ms. Dina, and I'm back with my educational videos. And today we are going to discuss how to combine algebraic fractions by addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, so we're going to need, if you're using my sources, we're going to need the notes classified part 1. So let me just remind you with a very easy concept that I'm sure all of you know from early years that states إنه if I am going to add or subtract numerical fractions, as you can see, we must have the same denominator. We must have the same denominator. So let's assume I am adding or subtracting. Now let's start by the very basic case, which is if I have 1 over 7 plus or minus 2 over 7, okay? Now, what I mean is that if it's addition or subtraction. So let's just start by adding. Now, if you look over here, since we have the same denominator already, so in this case, what I will do is that I will add up and I will keep the denominator as it is. And if you've seen my videos before, you would always see that I tell you what applies on numbers applies on letters as well, So let's assume this was written as 1x plus 2x. Now, since the denominator is the same, all I can do is that I can add up, even if they are algebraic terms and they combine into 3x and the denominator is the same. Now, what if I have this case, for example, 1 over 7x plus or minus, okay, 3 over 14x, for instance, in this case. Now, if you look at this example over here, you'll find that the denominators are not the same. And as we said, if we're going to add or subtract, you have to make sure that the denominators are the same. So what if, as you can see, by comparing these two denominators, this is an algebraic term with a coefficient of 7, and this is an algebraic term with a coefficient of 14. Now, if I am going to highlight the x, it's just to let you know that the x is the same, and in this case, it doesn't need any changing. So I can just work on the numbers and make sure that they are the same. And in this case, to have the same denominator, I will only multiply fraction number 1 by 2, ending up with 2 over 14x plus 3 over 14x. And of course, you add up and the denominator remains the same. So in this case over here, we didn't have to change any of the denominators because they were already the same. In this case over here, I had to change one denominator only. طيب, what if you remember, I have these sort of questions again, and I'm adding or subtracting. Now, by looking at the denominators, you'll find that in this case, you will have to change both denominators. And please remember that we always change the denominators by multiplication. And when you multiply, you have to make sure that you multiply up and down in the fraction. So by looking at these two denominators, I will change them both. I will multiply the first fraction up and down by 5, changes into 5 over 15. Multiplying the second fraction by 3 up and down, changing it into 6 over 15. And then you do the math, whether it is addition or subtraction. Now, why did I remind you with this? I reminded you with this just to let you know and remind you that what applies on numbers applies on letters. So today we're going to focus on the same denominator questions, but if the questions are algebraic. Now, first, I'm going to use my notes. If you don't have the notes, you can just write in a copybook or whatever, مش مشكلة. تمام? Now, if you are using my notes and my resources, please open them to, I'll open the notes to page, to page number 78. Open the notes to page number 78. Taban, we're going to start with all the types of questions related to adding and subtracting algebraic fractions. I'm going to start with the basic cases, and then I'm going to start with the medium cases, and then I'm going to start with the challenging and the complicated cases. Now, if you look at the solving steps over here, هم دول, I will go through them when I am solving حاجة حاجة. طبعا يا جماعة احنا دايما عارفين، او الناس اللي بتشتغل معايا في المدرسة او سمعت فيديوهاتي قبل كده، انا بحب دايما ان انا اختار كده طرق ممكن تسهل لي الحل شوية علشان اقدر احل اي مسألة مهما كانت صعبة. فخلينا كده نشوف what are the algebra concepts that I always want you to remember whenever we're dealing with any algebraic question. Now, let's start with the steps and the hints. ممكن أغير فيهم حاجة وأنا بشتغل دلوقتي. طبعا I'm going to label this as an easy case, this as well as an easy case, and the question that follows برضو as an easy case. And why will I label these with smile faces? Because in all of these questions, as you can see, the denominator is numerical. The denominator is numerical, يعني أنا قصدي ده أرقام. الدينومينيتور أرقام. طبعا المسائل اللي هي الدينومينيتور فيها بيبقى أرقام بتبقى مسائل سهلة جدا 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 وما بيبقاش فيها أي مشكلة. Now let's start by the first example over here اللي هو ده, and let's see the tips and the hints that I always want you to remember whenever we're dealing with such a questions. Always, whenever you look at fractions, algebraic fractions, always remember to put brackets as follows to avoid silly mistakes. So always remember to put brackets to avoid silly mistakes. This is the first thing that I always want you to remember. And the second thing that I want you to remember and always ask yourself, إيه اللي أنا أقدر أعمله؟ يعني إيه اللي أنا أقدر أعمله؟ يعني لو أنا بصيت على F1 و F2، يعني إيه F1 و F2؟ F1 يعني fraction 1. F2 يعني fraction number 2. فأنا ببص على كل fraction لوحده وأسأل نفسي إيه اللي أقدر أعمله؟ يعني إيه اللي أقدر أعمله؟ يعني مثلا هل في brackets أقدر أفكها؟ هل في factorization أقدر أعمله؟ يبقى again, to say this again in English in case anyone doesn't understand my Arabic, whenever you look at your algebraic fractions, first, as we said, put brackets to avoid silly mistakes, and then ask yourselves, is there anything that I can do with F1 or with fraction number 1? Meaning, is there any expanding to be done? Is there any factorization to be done? Can I expand any brackets? Can I factorize? You will find that in this case over here, there is nothing to be done. يعني ما فيش حاجة أفكها، ما فيش bracket يتفك، ولا في factorization يتعمل. So, after I have asked myself, إيه اللي أقدر أعمله? And I found that there is nothing to be done, I move on to the following step immediately, which is the same denominator step. طبعا this is super easy لأنه أنا if I want to change the denominators, since the denominators are totally different زي ما انتم شايفين، يعني أنا ما أقدرش أغير ال 3 into 4 by multiplication وما أقدرش أغير ال 4 into 3 by multiplication. So in this case I will change both denominators. تمام كده؟ I will multiply يعني I will multiply them by each other. فأنا هنا in this fraction, I will multiply by 4 up and down. And in the second fraction, I will multiply by 3 up and down. أنا عارفة إنه في الطريقة دي اللي هي الباترفلاي، بس أنا مش بحب أستعملها علشان ال more complicated questions. So after I moved on to the same denominator step, I expand up. شغلي بقى كله هيبقى فوق. أو أسأل نفسي برضو إيه اللي أنا أقدر أعمله. Okay? After the same denominator step, always ask yourself, can I expand up? إيه اللي أنا أقدر أعمله فوق؟ طبعا هنا I'm going to have 2 new denominators totally, 3 times 4 which is 12, 3 times 4 which is 12, expand up, 4x plus 4, 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 1 is 4. And then on the other side, expand as well. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So after the same denominator step, move on to أنا حتى كنت بسميها ال7 up. يعني إيه 7 up؟ يعني شغلي كله بيبقى فوق. شغلي كله بيبقى فوق. expand up. expand up. معلش بس سكرين هنجد شوية. expand up and then combine up. يعني ايه combine up؟ يعني هنا كده in this step over here, if you have any like terms that you can add together, add. So 4x plus 3x is 7x, and then you move on to the numbers. 4 plus -9 is a -5. And of course, remember that when we add, we don't change the denominator. The denominator stays as it is. So expand up, simplify up, or combine up. And then when you reach to this part over here, which is going to be step number 5, I'm going to repeat these steps again. When you reach to the single fraction form, if you have one fraction بالشكل ده, you need to ask yourself, can I factorize up and down? يعني in this final answer بقى هنا, over here, can I factorize up and down? You will find that you cannot factorize. يبقى خلاص كده, this is the simplest form, and this is your final answer over here. This is your final answer. طبعا هنعيد الكلام ده كله وهنشوف الأسئلة بالتدريج وهي بتزداد صعوبة. Okay? طيب, moving on to question double I. And I'm going to repeat the steps all over again. Now, the first step that I always want you to remember whenever, as we said, you're dealing with algebraic questions, always put brackets to avoid silly mistakes. So there is a bracket over here. Now put another bracket, and then there are no more brackets to be placed. مش محتاجة أحط brackets في حاجة تانية. So put brackets to avoid silly mistakes. And then you ask yourselves, إيه اللي أقدر أعمله؟ What can I do in the first fraction and in the second fraction? وقلنا اللي أقدر أعمله دي بتتقسم إلى شقين. Is there a bracket that I can expand? هل في factorization ينفع أعملها؟ يبقى step number 2 is إيه اللي أقدر أعمله؟ هل في bracket يتفك؟ هل في factorization يتعمل؟ So what can I do here is that I can expand this bracket over here. This is the only thing that I can do as I have no factorization to be done. So step number 1 for me is going to be expanding the highlighted green. فهتبقى 12x minus 3 over 2. Okay? وبعد كده الماينس زي ما هي. And then I will keep the second fraction as it is because there's nothing to be done with the second fraction. طيب. يبقى خلصنا step number 2. And then I move on to step number 3, which is the same denominator step. لأنه as we said, fraction plus or minus fraction, again, F stands for fraction. We must have the same denominator. We must have the same denominator. Now, in the previous question, اللي هو question number I, كانت addition, فما كانش عندي أزمة. أحيانا المسائل بتاعة السبتراكشن بتبقى شوية سخيفة، وهقول لكم دلوقتي ايه التريك بتاعة السبتراكشن. So now we are in step number 3, which is the same denominator step. Now, as you can see, my denominators are numerical, and in this case, I can easily change the denominators by, in this case, multiplying up and down هنا by 3, multiplying up and down by 3, and in the second fraction, I will multiply up and down by 2. I will multiply up and down by 2. So this is the same denominator step. And then we move on to the 7 up. أنا ليه بس مسميها 7 up؟ على أساس إن شغلي كله بيبقى فوق. يعني شغلي كله بيبقى في النيومينيتور. عشان كده بس قلت أسميها 7 up، يعني من باب الهزار. Nothing more. شغلي كله فوق. تمام كده؟ Expand up, simplify up, combine up, factorize up. كله فوق. طبعا we are going to expand. Let me just select the زي ما اتفقنا بقى هنا. I'm going to expand up. So let's just expand over here, leading to step number 2. 3 times 12, which is 36x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9 over كده طبعا we must combine the denominator. يعني لازم أعمل 2 times 3 minus expand هنا 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 over 6. دي expand up. وبعد كده combine up يعني collect like terms. please بقى please خلي بالكم من المسائل بتاعة السبتراكشن، لأنه معظم الأسئلة آخر السنة بتبقى subtraction. Please be aware of the subtraction questions. Please. طيب دلوقتي now let's just remember that the brackets must be kept. Okay. طبعا بالذات البراكتس هنا. ومن هنا هزود الحتة دي. When I am subtracting حاجة من حاجات, please remember to put اللي بعد الماينس جوه براكت. يعني لو انا رحت لكم كده يا جماعه على الوايت بورد اوكي هنا وكتبت 3x minus 2x, طبعا انا هنا I am subtracting a term from a term. فانا هنا I don't need to place brackets or anything. بس فرضا انا كنت كاتباها كده I am subtracting a binomial from a term. يعني انا هو بعمل حاجه minus حاجات. I must put the حاجات between a bracket. ليه؟ لأنه this minus will change the signs of the items inside. فأنا هنا بقى I have two approaches في الحل. I either read from left to right, so 3x minus 2x is 1x. بعد كده النيجاتيف 1 دي هتغير الساين بتاعة ال1 فهتبقى negative 1. Or what you can do is طبعا ده هيفضل زي ما هو. The first item will remain as it is. You can change subtraction into addition and change the signs of these. فit changes into negative x minus 1 and then you combine. يبقى تاني خلينا طبعا دي هنعيد عليها كذا مرة واحنا بنشتغل اللي هي حاجة minus حاجات دي. أنا هنا in step number 2 I need to combine up. ف you can either do it immediately. أنا هكتب بس الإجابة هنا. You can either do it immediately. وخدوا بالكم بقى بصوا كده وأنا بجمع مع بعض. How will I read 36x minus 2x which is 34x. ركزوا بقى في الحتة دي كويس قوي. negative 9 minus negative 6. ده أنا if I want to combine immediately. If I want to combine مش combine if I want to combine immediately. فياريت ناخد بالنا من الساينز. So it's negative 9 minus negative 6 which is negative 3. And of course the denominator remains the same. ده if I want to combine immediately. طيب what if أنا مش حابة كده وأنا حاسة إن this is confusing for me. You have the other option. What is the other option? طبعا قلنا ده في مسائل subtraction فقط. في مسائل الاديشن ما عندناش مشكلة. The other option is you keep the first fraction as it is. You change the subtraction symbol into addition and you reverse the signs of these terms. ف 2x هتبقى negative 2x. وعلى فكرة برضو دي مش وحشة الطريقة دي. اوكي وماينس 6 هتقلب ايه؟ plus 6. And then you combine 3x plus negative 2x which is 30 sorry مش 3 34 36 أنا آسفة 36x plus negative 2 which is 34 and negative 9 plus 6 is negative 3. ده لو عايزين طبعا هنعمل كذا واحدة عليها. بعد بقى ما بوصل لدي هنا step number 3 after I reach the single fraction after اللي هي هنا عندنا بقى اللي هو احنا عندنا دول الالجبرا concepts. After I reach the single fraction يعني لما بوصل لمرحلة الفراكشن واحد بس I ask myself can I factorize up and down؟ هل أنا هنا in this fraction I can factorize up and down؟ لا I cannot. فخلاص this is your final answer over here and it stays like this untouched. خلاص خلصت على كده. نكمل برضو with the numerical questions. طبعا دي بتتحل بطريقتين وانا هحلها بالطريقتين. في حاجة كمان كنت عايزة اقولها، انه في السؤال ده اللي هو question double I برضو there is another method of solving. انه احيانا sometimes some students start with the same denominator step first. فاللي هيحصل هنا انه دي هتبقى هنا ايه 9 and then they expand. if you do it this way طبعا of course it will be correct. يعني if you decide to do it this way it will definitely be correct as well. هنيجي هنا على this question over here and I am going to solve it بالطريقتين. طيب دلوقتي يا جماعة this is an algebraic term as you can see. اللي أنا عايزة أقوله بس إنه ده كده one term. وبرضو نفس الكلام المسائل اللي فوق كلها كانت الدينومينيتور one item زي ما انتم شايفين. يعني هنا الدينومينيتور المسألة triple I one item، مسألة double I one item، وهنا عندي رقم مش two items. يعني it's not a binomial. binomial يعني addition and subtraction، يعني زي كده IV. how do I deal with these questions أهو هنا if I have one item. Now by comparing these two denominators you will find that this denominator is a number multiplied by x وهنا كمان is a number multiplied by x. I don't need to change the x تمام لأنه it's the same in both fractions. I just need to work on the numbers only. فأنا I will just change the numbers اللي هم the 2 and the 3. So in this case all I need to do طبعا هنا I don't need to put brackets because I don't have expressions. I will just multiply immediately here by 3 up and down وهنا I will multiply by 2 up and down reaching to 9 over 6x plus 8 over 6x. وبليز يا جماعة بأكد إنه when we add or subtract we don't change the denominator, we combine up only. طيب what if جه حد قال لي طب مس أنا مش عايز أعمل كده، أنا I'm going to multiply the denominators immediately. يعني أنا هنا I will multiply up and down by 2x لأن إحنا we change the denominators تمام، وأنا هنا I will multiply up and down by 3x. صح محدش يقدر يتكلم. So fraction number 1 is going to be 9x over 6x squared. لأنه 3 times 2 is 6 و x times x is x power 2 plus 4 times 2x is 8x over 3x times 2x is 6x squared. طبعا when I combine as we said we combine up كده هنا فهتبقى 9x plus 8x which is 17x وطبعا the denominator remains the same. الفكرة بقى هنا إن أنا I must simplify because the questions always say keep your answer in a simplified form. Now, according to the topic indices, if you have the same letter up and down and there's division, you can subtract the powers or you can just simply cancel out. فأنا هنا عندي x واحدة فوق I can cancel it مع واحدة من الإكسات اللي تحت and what remains is 17 over 6x which as you can see is the same answer. So we have discussed so far the first part of the topic, which is the numerical denominator. دلوقتي I am going to move on to the questions. مش صعبين برضو, but in these sort of questions, the denominator is algebraic, as you can see. An algebraic denominator. And وهنا denominator is a binomial. وبليز يا جماعة والنبي بس أنا عايزة أأكد على الفرق ما بين كلمة expression و term. Term يعني a number multiplied by a letter. This is a term. Expression يعني two terms added or subtracted. Actually more than two terms. This is an expression. يبقى a term, number times letter. Expression more than one term added or subtracted. طبعا an expression of two terms is called a binomial. An expression of three terms is called a trinomial. So I'm not going to write بقى the steps here again لأنه these questions IV and واللي وراها سهلين. أنا هكتبهم تاني في المسائل بقى إيه complicated. So first thing that you need to remember when you're dealing with these questions, as we said, put brackets to avoid silly mistakes. Put brackets to avoid silly mistakes. And then you ask yourselves, إيه اللي أقدر أعمله? What can I do in both these fractions? Is there a bracket that I can expand? Is there factorization to be done? لا, مفيش حاجة أقدر أعملها. Then I move on to the same denominator step. Now, as you can see, the denominators are totally different. And according, again, بأكد, according to this concept over here, when the denominators are different, اللي هو دي, we multiply the denominators. طب لو دي كانت مكتوبة كده 3 plus x ودي مكتوبة هنا 5 plus x, هنعمل ايه؟ هاخد ده times هنا وهاخد ده times هنا. فأنا denominators are totally different. تمام؟ وزي ما كنا بنقول what applies on numbers applies on letters. So basically, let me just erase this using my magic trick. شكل الماجيك الماجيك trick بتاعتي هتقفش ولا ايه؟ Using my magic دي هشيل دي بس خلاص دلوقتي كده عشان بس يبقى عندي space وأنا بشتغل. Okay? So now I'm going to move on to the same denominator step immediately, and by comparing these denominators you'll find that they are totally different. So I will multiply the denominators. هعمل الفراكشن على الشمال times 1 plus x up and down, والفراكشن اللي على اليمين times 1 minus x up and down. 1 minus x up and down. تمام? And now I will move on to the 7 up step. يعني ايه 7 up؟ يعني شغلي كله فوق. شغلي كله فوق. ماليش دعوة بتحت خالص. طب يا مس ليه؟ هتعرفوا ليه لما بنحل المسائل complicated. So expand up. I will expand these brackets over here. First, you need to write your two fractions with the new denominator. والdenominator بتاعي عبارة عن التو brackets اهم untouched وشكلهم شيك ولا باجي جنبهم ولا بفكهم ولا بعمل أي حاجة. طب يا مس ليه؟ اصبروا بس كده 5 دقايق هتعرفوا ليه. Keep the denominators as it is. Expand up. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times x is 3x. طبعا قلنا المسائل بتاعت الاديشن بتبقى مسائل سهلة ما فيهاش مشاكل. And then expand up on the fraction on the right hand side. 2 times 1 which is 2. 2 times negative x is a negative 2x. And then after I expand up قلنا combine up أو simplify up يعني collect like terms هنا. And طبعا أكيد you know what do we mean by like terms. Like terms يعني letters, terms that have the same letter and the letter has the same power. فهنا I will keep the denominator as it is, 1 plus x, 1 minus x. طبعا combine the numbers together, 3 plus 2 which is 5, and then 3x plus negative 2x is plus 1x. طبعا if you want to remove the 1 you can totally remove the 1. طيب دلوقتي بقى بعد ما بوصل للمرحلة دي أنا بس حابة أحط براكت هنا كده لسبب ما في قلبي. You ask yourself, can I factorize up and down؟ زي ما اتفقنا بعد ما بوصل لمرحلة السنجل fraction you ask yourselves, can I factorize up and down? You'll find that the denominator is already factorized. تمام؟ وفوق I cannot factorize. طيب هنا can I cancel out any common brackets? Do I have any common brackets to be cancelled? لا مفيش. فخلاص هي دي الفاينل answer. الفكرة بقى إنه المسائل complicated هيبقى عندي المجال إن أنا I factorize up and down. نيجي بقى للسؤال اللي أنا دايما أتسأله. طب مس دلوقتي بقى can I expand down؟ عشان في ناس بيبقى خلاص أنا عايزة أفك تحت وخلاص. You can, but there is no need. يعني دايما أنا حتى بقول للولاد you don't need to volunteer to do something that is not required. If you desire to expand down at this stage, okay. If not, then it will still be correct. لما ندخل بقى في مرحلة equations ساعتها هيبقى غصب عننا we have to expand down. وخدوا بالكم يا جماعة إن إحنا دلوقتي we are simplifying expressions again. And the difference between an expression and equation is that an equation doesn't have an equal sign. So this is your final answer over here. خلاص كده خلصت دي على كده. There is nothing else to be done. دي الفاينل انسر. طبعا يا جماعه انتوا ممكن تعملوا ايه مثلا when you're watching the video. يعني مثلا ايه في المسائل النيوميريكال انا مثلا شرحت اول واحده فانتوا ممكن تعملوا pause تحلوا الاثنين التانيين and then you check your answers. هنا مثلا برضو نفس الكلام انا شرحت مثلا example ده. What you can do is that you can pause, try and solve مثلا this question on your own and then check whether your answer is correct or incorrect. تمام فانتوا ممكن تعملوا الحكايه دي برضو مفيش اي مشكله. طيب let's look بقى at this question again, and this question as you can see is a question with an algebraic denominator and it's a subtraction question. وقلنا sometimes the subtraction questions are annoying اللي هو يو بقى دي مسألة subtraction أنا يعني إيه بس هنقول اللقطة بتاعة subtraction اللي أنا عايزة أأكد عليها اللي هي بتاعة حاجة minus حاجات put the حاجات in a bracket, or you have the option to change the sign into addition and then find the opposite signs of the expression after the subtraction symbol. طيب let's see how do I solve this question over here. طبعا as we always said put brackets to avoid silly mistakes. يا جماعة البراكتس مش بفلوس مفيش أي حاجة تمنع إن إحنا نحط البراكتس بتوعنا. And then look at the denominators. Please notice the difference between عشان بس والنبي أنا عايزة أأكد الدينومينيتور ده مش عارفة ليه كل شوية السكرين بتهنج 2x و 3x يعني أو بلاش 2x خليها كده 1x بس. There is a huge difference. ده term فساعتها هنا if I want to have the same denominator هنعمل هنا بس times 2 up and down. ده binomial expression ما ينفعش ان انا اقول ايه يا مس بصي انا هعمل هنا بقى plus 3 up and down فدي هتبقى بقى هنا x plus 2 فهيبقى زي الاولاني. دي مصيبة دي كارثة. Please remember that the denominators are changed by multiplication only. By multiplication. تمام طبعا you do it up and down. فطبعا هنا زي ما انتم شايفين the denominators are totally different so we multiply the denominators. انا عارفة ان في ناس بتعمل كده انا بس مش بعملها. ويمكن لما اجي احل معاكم دلوقتي لان احنا بعد ما نخلص المساله دي we'll move on to the complicated questions it will make sense to you now ليه انا مش بستعمل دي. اوكي اللي هي الباترفلاي او whatever. اوكي so by comparing these denominators you'll find that they are totally different so what I can do is simply multiply fraction number 2 with x plus 2 up and down. تمام and then multiply fraction number 1 with x minus 1 up and down with x minus 1 up and down. This is the same denominator step. وقلنا after the same denominator step I move on to the 7 up meaning the denominator will be untouched and the denominator is going to be 2 brackets. طبعا if you shuffle the order of the brackets مفيش أزمة. يعني if you write مثلا x plus 2 الأول وبعد كده x minus 1 مش مشكلة. The 7 up step اللي هي قلنا شغلي كله فوق multiply up expand up combine up كل حاجة. طبعا احنا already عندنا فيديو على how to multiply brackets and if ليه كده. طبعا هنا you'll find that these brackets they are the almost same brackets. وطبعا if you forgot this you can just refer to the video of multiplying brackets. فطبعا these are the almost same brackets. فأنا هنا how do I multiply if you remember قلنا هنعمل first times first immediately. تمام and then second times second. And you do the same thing with the second fraction. X times x is x power 2 and negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. And I guess now why do you know بقى لما جينا شرحنا هشرب ميه بس لما جينا شرحنا no يعني لما شرحنا multiplying brackets we explained the special cases, and I think now you know why did I insisted on the fact that you know the special cases. Now we need to combine up, reaching to the final answer. Let me just write the final answer over here because I'm going to solve this subtraction question with the two methods that we discussed earlier. When you're dealing with subtraction questions, you either use the concept of حاجة minus حاجات, تمام? And please remember, you put the حاجات in a bracket. So when you combine like this. X power 2 minus X power 2 is 0. خلاص. And then please بقى ركزوا في الحتة دي كويس قوي. Negative 1 minus negative 4. ما تفكسوش signs. Please don't ignore the signs. And please combine from left to right. So negative 1 minus minus 4, it combines into positive 3. This is if you wish to do it immediately, which is what I recommend on channel time management. If you cannot do it immediately and this will confuse you, again, you have the option to do the following. Keep the first fraction as it is untouched. Keep the first fraction as it is untouched. Change subtraction into addition. وعلى فكرة برضو دي sometimes بتنفع في مسائل. And then طبعا الدينومينيتور ما بيتغيرش عشان بس نبقى متفقين. Change the signs of this binomial. Change the sign of the expression after the subtraction sign. ف x power 2 دي هتبقى negative x power 2 و minus 4 دي هتبقى هنا ايه plus 4. And then of course you combine reaching to this final answer. وطبعا when you reach to this final answer you will find that قولوا معايا هنا I cannot factorize, I cannot do anything up and down. فأنا I will stop at this stage. I will stop at this stage. تمام? So this is the end of part 1. لأنه if I actually do the complicated questions in this video, it's going to be super long. So this is the end of part 1, which discussed how do I find the same denominator if I have a numerical denominator زي المسائل اللي دي اللي هي denominator كان أرقام, and how do I change the questions by addition and subtraction if the denominator is algebraic, as you can see. So this is the end of part 1. And زي ما اتفقنا, the video is going to be super long if I deal with this, if I continue like this. And see you in part 2. Thank you.